Good morning to you.
Happy morning to all of you present here. The pupil Savita Eco School was started in the year 2012 under the flagship of Dr. N.M. Veerayan with a great vision to transform students into a balanced and mature individual with sound body, mind, and spirit, ready to meet the challenges of the 21st century with zeal and enthusiasm. Our directors, Dr. Savita and Dr. Rajesh, are visionaries behind every initiative taken, illuminating ideas, and are an inspiration to all of us in each step we take. The Pupil Career Talk series is yet another initiative to introduce the wide spectrum of career opportunities available for children. The event is open to all school children between the class 8th and 12th. A warm welcome to all of you students. Lakshmi Ma, over to you. Thank you.
Sir, a small introduction about our school. I would like to share a video about our school. With your permission, sir.
Sure.
So it's been a year since I've joined this school, and to be very honest, I've found myself here. It's a great platform for both extracurricular and academics.
The school made me feel really welcoming. I really like the positive vibes.
So our school not only helps us to keep us on track, but also gives us a platform for all the pupilites to exhibit their proud talents.
In our school, we have inquiry-based learning systems.
Given me opportunities to come up in my ideas, to expand my vision.
Help us learn lots of stuff without jamming stuff inside our head.
When I came to the school first time, I liked the painting of some wall like Buddha.
The teachers organize activities and they make studies a little more interesting or fun.
Even in a class where people are not of the same range, there are no discrimination that happens in class. There is no average student or an outstanding student. Everybody is treated equally here. Even an average student is brought up to an extraordinary level because of the teacher's hard work.
Teachers, they're just not like teachers, but they friends, where they come down to your level, where the base and they teach you everything from studies to your character to your behavior and everything, and how to be a man in the society. They do everything for you.
If you want to tell about my teachers, they're actually very kind and friendly.
In fact, all my classmates are my friends.
Here, grown-ups are too very friendly. All of us together form a lovely family. When they go home, they play. Sometimes they play in the park and then go.
Our teachers make sure that they give preference to our co-curricular as well. They give us these counseling advices, and which actually boosts up our energy, and we can do better. This is helping us.
In addition to the timetable subjects, we have a lot of co-curricular activities like swimming, gymnastics, dance, art, carpentry, yoga.
We are allowed to showcase all of our talents, and also we are allowed to draw portraits on wall.
There are 2 classes for music in my school. Better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town.
Dolly ma'am is the principal of our school. She is very kind. She lets us be naughty. She doesn't scold us.
Dr. Savita, or Savita ma'am as we call her, is the director of our school.
She, just like Dolly ma'am, is also very kind with us.
I like to read a lot of books. In this school, I've found a lot of other kids who like to read books too. We have the library, we have the honest shop.
So this dance group is basically and exclusively only for 12th standard students. Normally, people don't really give chances to 12th graders just because they have a lot to study and they have their board exams coming up. In spite of all of that, our teachers have strived so hard to give us a stress-free environment.
I never volunteered for school activities and I was very scared to talk in front of people. I didn't know my potential, but coming to Pupil, they've made me realize my capacity and I'm very proud to be a pupilite.
We get to perform in different colleges, different festivals, different culturals, which is amazing as well. I really think that schools like these actually strive to go way ahead in the future. There are kids who can shine from the school. Probably their interest in singing or dancing can evolve from the school, evolve from these small participations that they do. We need to have more schools like these so that we can have better kids in the future. The Pupil is such a happy place to be in, and it's our second home.
I'm really proud to be the pupilite.
So this was about our school, sir, a small glimpse of it.
Thank you.
I would like to introduce our speaker to all of you. It's my privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker, Mr. Shanmuganathan, to all of you. Sir has completed a BA degree from Loyola College and Bachelor of Law from Dr. Ambedkar Law College and Master of Law from Trichy Law College. He also has a postgraduate diploma in labor administration. Career spanning 37 years in Government of Tamil Nadu, corporate sector, and he has an expertise in different spectrums including law, statutory compliance, general and personal administration, quasi-judicial functions, and human resources. Sir is now a legal advisor to many companies and practicing legal and also a practicing legal professional. Who can be a better person than Sir to address today's session, a career in legal studies? Welcome once again, and over to you, Sir.
Good morning. Happy Saturday. The weather gods have been very kind to us. I think we had pleasant weather the past 2 days with rains and things like that. Let me thank the principal, the teachers, or acharyas, whatever you call. I don't know your nomenclature anyway. I'm very glad to be. I recently, 10 days back, I visited your school and it was absolutely, it was a great experience to find that in the city you have such a school with such a good ambience and ecosystem where the curiosity of the child is triggered and, so many young minds blossom. So it was a great experience. And I am privileged to take part in this session on career. I think this is the 12th of the sessions, if I am right. So already you have chartered 12 career paths for your students. Who are all the young ladies and gentlemen who are going to be professionals tomorrow, and they are going to excel in whatever career they are going to choose. So let me make it very clear at the outset that there are much more illustrious people to talk about it. Nevertheless, your ma'am had kind words about my experience, so I'll try doing justice to what I have been given. But let me make it also very clear that I am not saying this is the best career option for you. So I'm not trying to canvas to the students. I don't want to, kind of influence their thought process about the career they want to choose. Because career is something, it's about the individual's choice. And in schools like this, and choice depends on the knowledge you possess about the career. It should be your decision in choosing a career must be well informed. You don't have enough information about the career. You see a lot of students after 12th, they go by herd instinct, they join a course, midway they lose interest, then they complain, why did I join the course? And it becomes very difficult. So end of the day, you must do whatever you like. And to understand what you like, you must have enough information. That way, your school has done a great job in placing all these options before the students so that they can make well-informed choices as they grow older. Now, career, as we talk about career, what is career? Career is it's not about money. People mistake about money, status, and things like that. Career, all of us are endowed with intelligence, and we are more privileged than many other children in the society and this country to have such exposure to uh, a world better than anybody else to make choices about a career. Now, career, when I say, see, in my case, I've changed 4 careers, not jobs. So I started as an advocate, then I moved to the government where I did some work, then I moved to a corporate. Now I am in consulting and legal practice. So it's all about how you equip yourself and find your calling. What is there? What would interest you? What are you suited for? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your... So once you map that with this exercise of Quo Vadis was once upon a time a hit movie in the 60s. In the literal English translation would be "Whither goest thou?" That's what it was a hit movie. Where are we going from now? And as you get into 12th and post 12th, I mean, there are so many confusions. In my days, when I passed my 11th, it was 11th standard. I passed. I was good at English, and I was 15 years old. I came out, and I had to join what you call pre-university. The signal is there, or it's hung up?
It's there, sir. It's there.
Okay. So my father was somewhere in the Indo-China border. He came down, and there was the whole family council met. There was a uncle who was in the education department, and they decided. I said I want to do literature. No, they said you will do science, natural. What we call it, natural science, physics, chemistry. Okay, so I had to go. We had no choice. Okay, but I wanted to do literature. So in those days, there are very few options. We didn't have this level of awareness and so many professions and all that. So coming back to career, the decision is with you, absolutely. Okay, that is because of the freedom you have. The freedom of choice. Okay, freedom of career. So here I have to touch upon law. This whatever interaction going to be, it is not about law. Too much of law, people snooze off. I don't want to do that. I'm only trying to give an overview of what law is, and but whether you take law as a career or not, you may settle for some other career, but it is very important as a layman, as a well-informed citizen, you should know law. You should know your rights, you should know your duties, and you should know what is happening around you, at least for the sake of self-preservation. Okay? Why? That is very, very important. So, it would be appropriate to talk about our constitution in this respect, Constitution of India. You all heard of fundamental rights?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please speak up. No issues. You can interrupt me. Hello.
Children, you can interact.
You can interact, absolutely. I don't consider it as an interruption. So it
Yes,
makes
sir.
it. Okay. So fundamental rights are it is the soul of the Constitution of India. And a thriving democracy like ours, and democracy has thrived in this country for so many years, where it is struggling to survive in the neighborhood and all over the world. Okay. And more importantly, it is a population of 1.3 billion. Still, it is working. Okay. So, when you talk about when we talk about career and jobs and things like that, I draw your attention to 19G of the Constitution. There are other rights, of course, there are many rights: freedom to form association, freedom of religion, blah, 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 and all that. But 19G specifically says to practice any profession. Right? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
To practice any profession or to carry on any occupation, trade, or business. Okay? So it's a constitutional right. So anybody can, I don't know how many countries allow this. There are countries where the government says what you should study, what you should do in your life. They don't tolerate dissent. Okay, here we say we agree to disagree. Even if somebody talks against the government, okay, still we tolerate in the name of fundamental rights and legal protection. This is not possible. So this is a absolute, we don't value this great gift our constitutional makers, and many of them were erudite lawyers, barristers who framed this constitution. So freedom to choose is a very important thing. That is what we are talking about, career. Okay. Now, the purpose of our interaction today is to help you to understand what a career in law would imply. But it is the landscape is so vast, and it's expanding day by day by day. You study law, you become a lawyer. No, it's not like that. There are numerous options. And in the past 60, 70 years, new fields of law have come into existence. Okay. So, but let me tell you, you must also know history. It is, was there law in earlier times, after our forefathers or ancestors moved from caves to proper dwellings or whatever? I think the answer is yes. Law, there has been codified law. When I say codified law, in the form of written texts. You will be surprised to note that Britain doesn't have a written constitution. Okay, we have a constitution. Many countries have constitutions. Britain, the constitution it's an unwritten constitution based on customs, usages, conventions, act of parliament, and things like that. So, what history says, I don't know whether I'm not going to deep into each one of this, because I leave it to the teachers, and maybe you can have a project on this. Somebody can do a project on the earlier legal texts. See, Sumerian civilization, 2100 BC, they had codified law. They called it Namrus. Then Code of Hammurabi, that is 1750-55. That was in the Babylonian civilization. Okay. Then much recently, England, who ruled the entire world, the the first time they ever talked about rights of people was the Magna Carta. That is 1215. Okay, very recently. In terms of history, it is only very recently, hardly 800, 900 years old. And at that point of time, the Cholas had very clear legal system. They had local administration. They had secret ballot in the councils. They have well-defined administration. They had rule of law. When Europe was debating whether the sun moves around the earth or the earth moves around the sun. And someone who said earth moves around the sun was put to death for heresy. Okay. So let's understand we are not that primitive as we think. We were an advanced civilization. We had legal systems. In fact, most of the Hindu law, which we had now, of course, many have become irrelevant, has its origin from this Smritis and Shrutis. There are two schools of law. I don't want to bore you. Then, of course, Chinese 627 Christian era, they had a code, Tang code. Then Hindu law. Muslim law, of course, it was based on Quran, and Christian law was based on the Bible and the scriptures. So there was law. It's not that there was law, but it served. So law basically evolves. It keeps changing. It keeps changing as per the society's needs. And one important difference you must understand is, other than a democracy, all these early legal systems, they assumed that this law was given by somebody from heaven above. Okay? Whether you want to believe it or not, I don't want to influence you. You can make your own choices also again. But it also kept the citizens under the control of the rulers. So they said when the population was told the king comes from this stock, they call it divine right theory of kingship. So the people were made to believe this king who's ruling us is ordained by the gods to rule us. So, but there were different times. But finally, there is an age of reason. And now, if I tell you all these things, you will ask me. I don't think any of you will believe all this. But anyway, it's good to know about. So, law is one of the oldest subjects. If you really, it's not that law just came a few centuries back. Okay. Now, law is part and parcel of our life. Are you there, children?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now I am going to take you through a drive from your home to the school, right? Are you there?
Yes, sir. Sir.
So you live with your parents. You live in a home, an independent home, or an apartment complex, or whatever. Correct? Who's Arjun? Who's that? Who's this?
Children, you can switch on the video and interact with sir.
Enter the screen. Who's this? Yeah, she is now in the middle of the screen. She is now tying up her hair.
Divisha.
Hello. Huh?
Divisha.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. I am going to ask you. Let us drive from. Hi. Hi, man. How are you? So,
I'm fine, sir.
Where do you live?
Sir, in Mogapur, sir.
Mogapur.
I
Okay.
live in Kartapaka.
Okay. The Mogapur. First, we'll start with Mogapur. So, you live with your parents, right?
Yes, sir.
So, you live in a house which is owned by your father or so he owns the property, right? He owns that house.
Yes, sir.
So that is law. He is a owner. Okay, he's a owner of the house. So he owns the property. So there, so property rights are law again. So you must know. It gives him rights to own the property so that nobody can come and trouble him, right? He can do whatever he wants. He can live freely with his family, have a happy life, right? And nobody can go. So that is the law of property, correct? Then
Yes, sir.
who drops you to school?
Sir, the bus, sir.
Huh? Sorry, school bus.
School bus.
Yeah, fine. School bus. The school bus. The driver needs a license, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that is law. He is bound by the road rules, right? If he doesn't have a valid license, he is violating the law.
And we'll have to walk to school.
You have to walk to school. That's right.
7 kilometers.
Then your driver of the bus has to obey traffic rules. He has to stop in the signal when it is red, green. He can go. So okay, so on and so forth. Then, and you drive. You want to buy a snack on the way. Do you carry snacks to the school?
Not allowed.
Huh?
Carry snacks to school for a break.
Anyway, you go to a bakery or whatever, you buy snacks, okay? Snacks, and in the pack, the price will be written, the expiry date will be written, okay? The manufacturer has to follow the food safety standards. So that is food related, correct?
Yes, sir.
Then you reach the school. You must reach on time.
Yes, sir.
So you have to follow the rules again.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So you are already following rules and regulations. But are you aware of it?
No.
Okay. Now you come to the school. You have to be on time. And the school, there are rules and regulations. You can't keep on chattering as you like. And of course, you are very lucky. When I was in school, these two palms have become really hard. Tell me why?
Yeah, when we do something, teachers beat with a stick on our hand only.
It is not a stick, it's a cane. I would have got 1,000 caning in my hand in school, because every week you have a geometry test. For every mistake, you get a. Now the law says you can't beat children, because children are also intelligent. It's not that they are not naughty, but those days we were told, spare the rod and spoil the child. Parents used to come and tell the teachers, my son is behaving very badly at home, and tell the master, why don't you crack the whip? So why I'm giving you this example is, law is part and parcel of our life. We don't know. That is what we have to keep. It influences day by day, right? And law is also changing according to the years. And see, for example, I'll tell you.
And according to the elections also, like when a new minister enters, they correct the constitution.
No, you have raised a very nice issue. I'm very happy you brought this up. Now you must understand, other than the constitution, there are so many laws. In this shelf next to me, I have about 50-60 books. I'm not going to show all that and trouble you. Now tell me, Nisha, right? Nisha? Vidisha. Who makes laws? Tell me.
The government makes up the laws and they sign it in a people.
No, no. So, who's the government?
We are the government.
No. See,
Is it the
you must
parliament?
understand. We are the people. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
after you turn 18, you will vote.
Yes, sir.
You will elect a government,
Yes.
and your representative will represent you in the state assembly and also in the Lok Sabha.
Lok Sabha.
That is parliament. Parliament has two houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Lok Sabha is you elect your representative. The member of parliament of your constituency represents you. Rajya Sabha is nominated. Okay, so let's leave it at that. No, when you say government, there are three arms of the government. Can you name them?
Is it by the people, for the people?
Yeah, that is okay. That is democracy. The democracy is about for the people, by the people, of the people. Now, there are three arms. As I told you, the parliament.
Legislative Assembly.
The parliament and assembly are called legislatures. What is it?
Legislatures.
Okay. And now the
legislature, judiciary, and executive.
correct. That's what I wanted.
Yes, sir.
So there are three arms. The three arms of the government are legislative, executive, and judiciary.
Sir,
This is
civics, sir.
sorry.
Last year we studied this in civics.
Very good. Originally this was it was called separation of powers. Just make a note, separation of powers, right? It was this theory was given by a French philosopher called Montesquieu. So he says clearly there are three organs of government: legislative, executive, and judiciary. And each one is independent, so that each one controls each other, right? Okay. Now, you said, who is making law?
The government.
No, the legislature makes laws.
Yeah, sorry, the
The legislature makes laws. Why do they make law?
So that the people of the particular country follows it and.
Correct. More importantly, the legislature is supposed to know the needs of the society and the people. Yeah, please tell me. Yeah, come.
Sir, I am not sure, sir, but then the legislature makes the law, the judiciary executes the law.
No. Judiciary doesn't execute. When there is a problem with the law, or somebody is affected by the implementation or non-implementation of the law, the judiciary comes into practice. Okay? They come into play. Because any law passed by the legislature should be within the framework of the constitution. They cannot pass laws which are not correct or which is not in following the Constitution of India. Correct? So that's why I said legislature is independent, executive is independent, and the judiciary is also independent. Right? So the supreme power to make a law is with the legislature.
So what about the Constituent Assembly? Do they also make laws?
No. Now there is, Constituent Assembly was at the time of independence. Okay. Before we got independence, our constitution came into effect only in 1950. Right? Okay. Much later, 1947 we got independence. 50. The Constituent Assembly was a body which was responsible in drafting the Constitution of India. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir.
So after that, the Constituent Assembly ceases to exist.
So can you explain it once again?
See, at the time of independence, when India got independence, wanted to have a constitution. So there are the best people, the best brains in the entire country. They all got together, debated for months and years, and finally drafted the Constitution of India. Okay? Yeah. And they brought in the best features from various constitutions in the world, like fundamental rights from the American Constitution, welfare from some other constitution, from Irish Constitution. Finally, the Constitution of India was drafted. You wanted to ask me something?
India has the longest constitution in any other country.
Sorry?
Sir, you said no, sir, that India drafted some constitutions from different.
No. I never said we didn't copy and paste and all that. I said there are some important things from which we wanted to follow from mature countries, from countries where fundamental rights from the American Constitution, something from the Irish Constitution. So what we were inspired by countries who were successful in being democratic, right? So we wanted to follow the example, and there's nothing wrong, right? To follow the example of, you need not reinvent the wheel, but of course you have to tune it to our requirements. So coming back to your question on Constituent Assembly, the Constituent Assembly's job was to draft the Constitution. That is where the huge towering people like Dr. Ambedkar, one of the most brilliant barrister, statistician, philosopher, and many of them, Alladi Krishnasamy Shastri from Ananda Iyengar, then from the Jesuits, we had one of the tallest figure, Father Jerome de Souza. He was in the Constituent Assembly. Many people, all brilliant people in their walks of life, and the Constitution and the Constituent Assembly, they were all members. But once the Constitution was drafted and put into practice in the 1950, the Constituent Assembly ceases to exist, and thereafter any law has to be passed. It is only by the Parliament. Parliament, when I say Parliament, it's the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. And there are procedures which we need not get into, which majority and all that. Are you clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The lady here.
While they were drafting the constitution, they had some debates and they posted in the newspapers and all, sir.
Correct.
So that to know that the citizens also are okay with the rules which they are going to put. Are they okay?
Your question is yes and no, because in 1947, you can imagine the level of illiteracy in the country. Okay, it was very, very low. And the media was almost non-existent. We didn't have electronic media. And so I would say the voice of the common man was taken care by the people who were brilliant. Because the population was not mature enough to understand these things. Because even those days, they were driven by personalities, Nehru, Gandhi, like even now, that has not changed even now. We run behind politicians. Sometimes most of them are unworthy. But those days, you had really towering personalities, people of impeccable character, honesty, who lived selfless, like Sardar Patel, who didn't think about themselves. They were unselfish. They thought about the society. They wanted to mold a bright future for this country. But still we are struggling. That's a different matter. Okay? So the answer is, it was debated. It was covered by the papers, both English and vernacular. But how many people had access to newspapers? How many people had the literacy to understand? or at that point of time, there was only one party, the Indian National Congress. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Indian National Congress was the only party. Through the party, they reached out to the people. Okay. Now, do you know who founded the Indian National Congress?
Nehruji?
Any other answers?
Rajiv Gandhi.
Sorry? It was an Englishman who founded the
A.O. Hume, sir.
yeah, Alan Octavian Hume. His and why, you know why he started this? His theory was safety valve theory. He says he realized that Indians have started making noise. They were agitating, asking for independence. So he said, let us form something and give them a party so that they can shout for some more time and we can live in peace. Okay. So coming back, where did we leave? Anybody? Have we lost? Coming back to you asked, so who makes the laws? Are we clear now?
Yes, sir.
Who makes the laws?
The legislative assembly.
Legislature. So, some of the laws, some of the laws come under the central government. Some of the laws come under the state government. The constitution has 3 lists. It's called central list, state list, concurrent list. Okay. So central list, only center can make laws. This could include foreign policy, atomic power, defense, and things like that. There are certain areas like what is the hottest topic now going on in education in Tamil Nadu?
So the board exams.
Board exam is one thing.
NEET exams. NEET exams.
NEET. Exactly, NEET. Why NEET? There is so much of noise.
Because it's against the people.
That is what a section of people say that it's against. The government says it's against. Okay, because education is in the concurrent list. Both central is there and state governments, they can formulate policy. But the fact of the matter is the Supreme Court has decided already that NEET is to stay. So I don't think in normal course anybody can change it. Right? So this is legislature. Now, can you tell me any law which has been passed recently regarding child rights? Anyone? No answers. Do you agree that I told you law changes as per the needs of the society? Correct?
Yes, sir.
The society sometimes there are society changes. There is progress. One side you have technology, you have all the comforts and all that. There is a lot of bad things happening in the society. Correct?
Yes,
sir.
Like what? Tell me.
So like injustice towards women, the crimes.
Correct. Gender. Okay. Next.
Child abuse.
Correct. So let's stop at that and let's come to it. I told you the legislature passes law according to the needs of the society, right?
Yes, sir. So
Sometimes the courts also give directions. The Supreme Court decides on there are certain shocking incidents which happen in the society, and the court says it's high time the government make some laws in this regard. Do you, for example, I'll give you an example for this. In the 90s, there was a famous case which you should all know. Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This case was called Ruchika versus State of Rajasthan. Okay, this is the case in which the Supreme, a lot of women go to work. So it is the duty of the employer to make the workplace safe for women, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure.
The lady there, she's very serious. I don't know. Why don't you answer me in the middle of the screen? What's her name?
Anushka? Anushka, would you want to answer?
Because I would like to engage students. Otherwise,
Okay.
it will become
Children, I think you can come on video and talk to sir. So you can switch on your video, children. Yes, sir. Please go. Carry on.
So the 90s, late 90s, there was a, I told you, Ruchika versus State of Rajasthan. So the first time the court understood the problems of women at workplace, how they are sexually harassed, right? Even because our society is patriarchal, basically, even today. And the POSH Act, it's called Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act, and it gives certain rights to the woman at workplace. Okay, so the court gave a list of issues saying what would constitute sexual harassment and what is the employer's duty, what is the government's duty to safeguard the interests of women at workplace. Okay, and the result was the legislature passed this act called Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. Okay, but the fact of the matter is I have conducted one sensational case on behalf of a lady. It's very difficult to establish because the woman, it's uphill task for the woman to come out. She is stigmatized. Okay, the system is not sensitive to a woman who suffers this ignominy. So coming back to the main issue, the legislature thought it, but in this case, because of a direction from the Supreme Court, had to pass a law called the Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. Correct? So, and every organization is supposed to have a internal complaints committee, and there are rules and regulations, and it should be headed by a woman, and it should also comprise of one NGO or some member from externally. Despite all that, it is an uphill task because I fought a bitter battle in one case, and still it is inconclusive because the system is against you. Everybody goes to the rescue of the predator. Okay, and sometimes the predators are in high places, and they have political and administrative patronage. You get the point?
Yes, sir.
So the point is, come, ask some questions. Otherwise, it will become. Are you there? Is it okay? Are we on track? Is it interesting, or I am rocking you to sleep?
It's interesting. No, sir, it is interesting, sir. It's interesting.
So we should make it more interesting by asking questions.
So how long do sexual harassment cases stand at court, sir?
See, one is, okay, it's an academic forum, and so I have the liberty to say, I had while working on a case, I had a very long chat with one member of the judiciary. Okay. And the whole problem is even women judges and women officers are insensitive to the plight of women. You get the point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because we are used to thinking in a certain manner. Okay, somebody, if the lady really wants to speak up, she's really genuinely harassed and she wants to lodges a complaint, the attempt is to hush up. And somebody will tell her, why do you want to do this? We can walk, these things are common. See, that is the state of our society. So your generation must be, I think, more, what shall I say, open and fair. Okay. That's very, very fair. When I see fair, I'm not saying question everything, be anti-establishment. That's not what I'm trying to say. Before questioning anything, you must understand everything first. Okay. Again, coming back to the main issue, freedom of choice, career. Well, why do you need a career in life? Tell me.
So we can succeed, like we can achieve like something. So
To achieve something and
so
to
be
achieve something in our life.
Okay, what is success?
To reaching our goals.
Goals. Okay. Goals, okay. What are the goals?
So our dreams, what we want to do in life.
For yourself or others?
For both, sir.
Like
For yourself.
For yourself.
For yourself.
So
So, no, you choose a career, but before that you must differentiate between a hobby and a career.
yeah, hobby is like what we like to do when we are.
But suppose you, suppose
suppose
you excel in your hobby, it could be your career. We don't know. You start painting as a hobby, but you start excelling. Okay.
Artist.
Like I saw one in your clip. I saw that what's it? Van Gogh's painting was there. It came in the clip, correct?
Yeah.
The clip they showed on about your school. Okay, so suppose your hobby turns into a passion, then it can be a career.
Yeah, because some people start with dancing like as a hobby, then they become a dancer in the future.
Okay, so if you are going to pursue something, you make a choice. Today's session is to make you help, as your ma'am told, it is the 12th of the series of career talks, correct? So they are exposing you to various career paths. So as you grow older, you will understand more of each career, and finally you decide something which you like, and you can work with passion. And once you pursue a career with passion, it is not at all work. You start loving it. Correct? So you are well equipped, you have very good schooling, and more importantly, your personality is what matters. Whatever career you are going to follow, you have to compete. Compete with whom? Compete with whom?
Compete with the society.
No, compete with yourself. There's no point of competing with others. You have to compete with yourself. Today you are here, you must go one notch above. Keep going like this. And more importantly, if you will definitely do well in your career. You will get but what is success? End of the day, success is you must make a difference in people's lives. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you will get your latest mobile phone. You will live in a very luxurious condominium. You will drive a limousine. You will take trips abroad. Okay. You will buy designer clothes. All that is at one part. Okay. But life doesn't stop like that. We should make a difference in others' lives for the better. Wipe a tear. Lend a shoulder. Look after the underprivileged. Not in a political way, or not for a photo opportunity, or media hype, for yourself. Okay, now where did we leave? Tell me. Come, please tell me.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, this is Akshaya of class 8. I have a general doubt, sir.
Yeah, please.
So how do the government make a law? In the sense, like one part will be for it, while another part will definitely be against it, no, sir. So whose part, or how does the government judge?
See, as I told you earlier, we discussed the government doesn't make law, it's the legislature which make law, right?
Yes.
Legislature is assembly in the state, and parliament, that is Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, in the central. Okay. So when a law is passed, the bill is passed before the house. Okay. And it is debated.
Yes.
Right? There will be people who will have other points of view.
Yes,
as you rightly said, some will be for, some will be against it. And sometimes they send it to a select committee. But finally, when the bill is approved, it is put to vote.
Okay. So vote in a sense, the people will decide, or
Not the people, your elected representatives, your members of parliament in the parliament, and your MLAs in the state legislative assembly, depending on which act it is, state act or a central act. Did I answer your question?
Yes, sir. Very much.
Sir,
Thanks, sir.
Sir, if the majority is against, then the law won't come on force, no, sir.
No, it won't come. It will fail. No, it has to pass that's why it has to pass the majority test in the floor. And after that it goes to the president for assent. The president of India.
So what if the people are against the law, like Section 377? Then what will the legislature do, sir? Will the judiciary take action towards that?
No. Judiciary somebody goes to the court and says, this law has been passed by the assembly, it is against the spirit of the constitution, the court will interfere. Otherwise, it won't. And it will struck down the act totally, or the provision which is violative of the constitution.
Sir, why is not directive principles, like if somebody doesn't follow the directive principle, why we can't come and ask, why we can't come and fight for that in the court?
See, directive principles are not law. It is not like fundamental rights. You know what are the directive principles? Can you mention some of the directive principles? Do you recall? Because you have raised that question. Correct? Shall we take time and to read what is directive principles? Ma'am, is it okay?
Yeah.
Sir, yes, sir, please.
Because she has asked a specific question.
So directive principles are the
Tell me.
like
Come. There's nothing right or wrong. We are discussing here.
yeah. So it is a part 4 of the Constitution. I say. And it is a part 4 of the thing. The basic ideas are the Articles 36 and 51.
No, I'll tell you, I'll put it like this. Directive principles are not enforceable. Okay. There cannot be a violation of directive principles. See, it's like this. You have your school has some a motto.
Yeah.
It has what is
Yes, sir.
some mission statement.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Directive
Yes,
principle
sir.
is like that. Directive principles are like that. See, you have rules and regulations of the school which you are supposed to follow. You have to have a certain amount of attendance. You have to come on time, and you have to obey your teachers, do your projects, your homework. And in those days when I was in school, you have something called detention. You have that?
Yes, sir.
No, sir, we don't have.
We don't have.
If you don't complete work, you'll have to stay back. You can't go for your games. There is a room where my father principal, a warden will come. We'll all be there. It is something like putting you in a jail. There's no work. It's called detention. Thankfully, it is not there now. So, directive principle is like your mission statement. We would like to follow these things. Correct? Are you there? You're looking elsewhere.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
See, what are the... I'll run through it. It says, the citizens, men and women, equally have the right to an adequate... This is a statement. We are saying everybody should have right to adequate means of livelihood. But are we able to eradicate poverty?
No.
No. There are richer becoming richer. The poor are becoming poorer. Okay. The amount we pay for a dinner on a Saturday night, a family doesn't earn that much to survive in the city.
Sir, but then there are some poor people turning into rich, sir.
Sorry?
There are some people who are poor and turning into a big man in a society.
Correct. See, that is by their own effort. But what is the state doing? What is the government doing?
Nothing.
Nothing. They are trying to do. It is not reaching the poor.
So, are there any laws which protect the poverty in India, like the poor people?
Yeah, there is a Food Security Act. Food Security Act is there. Through the public distribution system, we give them free grains. Then you have this Manrega. We have 100 days work. So to keep poverty, we give them 100 days work on minimum, so that they earn wages. Why do you think government does all these things?
So that the poor also can have all
The
these
poor
things.
also has something to.
So that they have
the poor also have like they can also have something for survival.
People have the basic needs. Sir.
Yeah,
See,
basic needs of
even after so many years of independence, we are going to... Sorry.
அந்த லிங்க் இவங்க தான் இருக்கா உங்களுக்கு அனுப்ப மாட்டேன் இது நம்பர் கொடுத்துருக்கேன்னு நினைக்கிறேன் என்ன கிளாஸ்
Hello, can we resume?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
See, after so many years of independence, 6 states you have Maoist problem. Do you know that? It's called the Red Corridor. Starting from Orissa, Andhra up to Chhattisgarh, there are Naxalite movements. Okay, rural people are up in arms. They are fighting against the government. Are you aware of it?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. There is always some bomb blast, CRP jawans are killed, there is an encounter. And recently, you would have heard of a Jesuit priest who died, who was fighting for the cause of the Adivasis and tribals. and he didn't get. Did you follow that in the news?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Father Stan Swami.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes,
I'm
sir.
not going into the merits of
Sir.
what he did. He's a Jesuit priest. He was working for the tribals. All that is fine, but he was arrested that he was working against the government. Let's not get into the merits of it. The point is, even after so many years of independence, there are sections of people who are not the fruits of democracy and development has not reached them. Okay. So when you're saying law as a carrier, there are a section of people who fight for the rights of these people, the underprivileged, okay, who have no legal rights, who don't have any means of livelihood. Okay, see why the government is worried about these things, because if so many people are not in the mainstream of the democracy, they will definitely revolt. There will be bloodshed. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Democracy will fail. So, law plays an important part in all these things. So, where did we leave? I've lost track now. Somebody can help me to put it back on track. Somebody asked, you asked about directive principles of state policy, correct?
Directive principles.
Directive principles are just, they are not binding, but they say it should be like this. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, so fine, coming back, law is passed by the legislative, and if there is a problem, somebody said if the law is bad, the people don't want it, the courts can go into it. The court, what they will do is they will like to go into the question, what was the intent of the legislature in passing the law? Okay. Now, for example, prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. What was the legislative's intention? Tell me.
Sir, to at least stop sexual harassment in workplaces or to avoid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Super. So, the court will say legislative intent is, if the legislative intent is met, then there is no problem. Correct? So, there are similar other laws also. You must know that in the Hindu, when the girl gets married, hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In the traditionally, when the girl gets married, they give her jewels and certain things. What is it called?
Sir, dowry.
Dowry.
No, dowry is a later version. Now I'm coming to that. It's called Sridhana. Sri is a lady, Dana means a gift. Why it was given? It has its origin right from the Smriti and the earlier Hindu law. Why is it? The purpose was to give some kind of protection to the woman. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Are you
sir.
there? In case something happens to her husband, she falls into bad times, she needs some buffer. There were no fixed deposits or shares and things like that those days. So she had gold was the only. So Sridhana was given, and it continued.
That's what some people
Sridhana
will
was
do.
given.
They will sell that gold and get make money with that, and they survive.
Traditionally, not anymore. Traditionally, yeah, many years back. So slowly, what happened? The society became so degenerate. Degenerate means bad. So whenever somebody had a daughter and they have to get her married, people started demanding gold, demanding money, shamelessly. Okay, it's prevalent in many parts of the country even today.
So isn't it illegal now because of the
No,
dowry
that's why
prohibition?
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. See, traditionally, Sridhana property, it slowly gave back, it became dowry, and people started demanding and harassing the girl who was married for their needs. They need business, they want status. So there are numerous cases of dowry harassment, as they call, and they burnt girls.
So
Huh?
the Sridhana was given from the girl side or from the groom side, sir?
Girls side, girls side.
Girl side.
So then how will that itself come to help to the girl itself?
No, those days it made sense because the girl had no means of livelihood. Once she comes to her husband's house, she is done. Finished.
Oh.
So something happens to her husband or something happens, she had some fallback. But that doesn't hold good. After some time, it became dowry, and people started demanding dowry. If the doctor so much, if his IAS officer 1 crore, one BMW, so many. So it became shamelessly, and girls were sold like this by even by educated parents. It is not among the poor, even among the super rich, it is prevalent. And there are cases. A friend of mine who was an officer and was designated. See, if any girl who dies of burn injuries within 7 years of marriage, there is a special act, anti-dowry act. An inquest has to be done. Okay.
Okay, sir.
They have to
So,
do the post-mortem. Then they have to inquire all the relatives whether there is foul play. A friend of mine who worked in one place as an officer, he did 140 such cases in 2 years.
oh, okay.
Okay, so coming back. So the old Sridhana has lost its relevance and it became a tool of harassment. So the Anti-Dowry Act was passed. Okay. Correct?
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So there is a question in the chat box.
Okay.
Can I just ask it, sir?
Yeah, please.
So somebody has asked about how did the government pass Citizenship Amendment Act 2019? Most people felt it was unfair. That is one question, sir. And there is also one more question. Can you highlight on different study which is available in law and other options which they can enter into if they study law? So is it only restricted to practicing and things like that, or is there more options too if they study law, sir?
I'm coming to that. The first part, CAA, the point is it has gained a lot of traction in the media. Okay, so it's a very. I have the Citizenship Act, but the point is the legislature has passed it. It is delivered and dusted. Okay, it has its origin in partition. It had its origin in partition, where Sardar Patel integrated hundreds of principalities as a Union of India. Before independence, we never had the Brits ruled us as India for economic interests. And they brought in provinces, they brought in judicial system, all that. After independence, some of the, or mostly there are nearly 190 or 200 states were integrated by Patel. Correct? And the Britishers, there was, as you know, there was a bloodbath during partition between Hindus and Muslims. Correct? Millions were lynched. They lost their property. So they suggested, the Congress, I don't want to get into politics, they felt that Muslims should have a different country, Hindus should have a different country. So what happened was, in India, India, Muslims were given an option whether you want to stay here or you want to go there. But Hindus, most of them came back as refugees. Okay. And Kashmir. Kashmir was a Hindu kingdom. If people don't know, it was ruled by a Hindu ruler and Muslim population. Hyderabad was a Muslim ruler, mostly Hindu population. Another state was Junagadh in Gujarat, was again, see, these are the three problem areas. And people, the wrong decisions were made at that point of time. And the Citizenship Act gave them, so CAA, so first I want to know from the question, what is the, all said and done, CAA has been passed by a duly elected parliament, passed in both the houses of the parliament, and it has got the presidential assent and the constitutional amendment is made. So it implies that it is the voice of the people. But if you want to have a debate on that, it will take a separate session. That am I okay, ma'am, on that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Definitely.
Because it is a very debatable issue.
Correct.
But what we, as students, we should understand it. It is an act of parliament.
Yes.
And the courts refused to, Supreme Court refused to interfere.
Yes, sir.
As it is good law. Okay, the second question is carriers in law, right?
Yes, sir. And so is it only different study available?
See, carriers are in law, there are plenty. So if you see the fields of law, criminal, it was the earliest, the British passed. Lord Macaulay wrote the Indian Penal Code in Kotagiri, Ooty, which is more or less intact with minor amendments. And of course, there are a lot of other laws, as you said, protection of women. Then you have rights and responsibility. Consumer Protection Act has come. Many acts have come. There is also law for rights of persons with disabilities. They also have rights. So, to give a summary of, shall we wind up in another 5-10 minutes or how it is? We have almost,
no problem.
We are clocking almost one and a half hours, I think. So, law, there are many fields of law, coming back to the whole thing. Criminal, of course. Criminal law is the earliest law, Indian Penal Code. And now the typical criminal law has also changed. In the sense, earlier it was theft, dacoity, murder, things like that. But it has gone into white collar crime is a big branch of criminal law. Okay. Money laundering. Okay. Cyber crimes. So criminal law is one. Then commercially laws are there. Family law. Right now, Chennai has 10 family courts. But the divorce rate is shooting up the ceiling. Okay. It is so that is as a career, family, there are lawyers who are making a lot of money only practicing in divorce cases. So that is one, whether you like it or not, it is a fact of life, and that is one law. The environmental law is a very big subject now. You know, you must understand that there are certain incidents which you must understand which change the course of history and legal legislation. One is, I don't know how many of you know the Bhopal gas disaster in the 80s. It was a...
Yes, sir.
Have you heard of it?
Yes, sir.
What happened?
Yes, sir.
There was a gas leak.
Yeah, this is an American company. That company is still there. It's now part of Dow. What is that? Dow Chemicals. Part of Dow Chemicals. They had a plant in Bhopal, there was a gas called methyl isocyanate. It leaked, killed thousands of people in the city. And even now people are suffering from disease and deformities. And there was no law to tackle it. Even today, the chairman of that company, Anderson, he died recently. We were unable to arrest him and bring him to book. He was helped to get out of the country by the then ruling government. Okay, the victim that they passed an act, Bhopal Gas Victims Rehabilitation Resettlement Act. That act was challenged. It went on for 20 years. Many people died. So that is one. So environmental law is very important now because it is development versus environment. Because when you start an industry, there is a lot of protests from, you are supposed to take the objections of the local people. So environmental law is highly, it's already grown. It's a new, in the past 10, 20 years, it's grown very well. The other one is IPR. Have you heard of IPR? Intellectual property rights.
No, sir.
No, sir. No, sir. Sir.
It is about, you make an invention, okay? You make an invention or a formula or a design that has to be protected. It is earlier they used to call patent law. Okay, you have discovered something and you have right over it, right? If somebody copies it, it's a violation.
Yes, sir.
So every product design, so you have legal battles between two companies on a design. So this is another growing field of law, intellectual property rights. Then gender rights, then animal rights. Okay, so these are various fields. Okay, now how do you enroll for a course in law if you are interested? One is, see, now you have come to Savita school because it's one of the best schools.
We'll do LL.
Yeah. So likewise, if you want to pursue a career in law, it is very important that you get enrolled in one of the best colleges. Okay. That, because that provides you, like how Savita school provides you so much to use your intellect, to use your creativity, to have a very wide worldview. So similarly, it is very important to enroll in a very good college, for which you have to take an entrance called CLAT. You have to work for it, and you get admitted in one of the top like national law schools in Calcutta, Hyderabad, Bangalore. There are 5-6 schools. Apart from this, a lot of private colleges have also come, which are very good. Okay, so you will have basically a CLAT test. I think you all can crack very easily. That shouldn't be a problem. So that is one part, how to enroll yourself. Then you can go on to do your masters in India or abroad. You can do your research, and depending on what you want to do. But the fundamental for all these things is you have to sharpen your intellect. You have to, your reading skills, you have to improve. You must be very articulate, both written and spoken, because communication is very important. And you must have this confidence, you must have the stature to be all said and done. You need to have a personality of your own. It's not whether you are handsome or beautiful, dark or fair, that hardly matters. All that matters is how you carry yourself around, right? How your interpersonal skills, very, very important. Your power to grasp, right? So these are some of the traits which any profession would require. But this uses more interaction and articulation. And more than that, law requires you have to be updated all the time. You need, the law changes every day. You got to be, and now with the touch of the button with the internet, you have so many legal websites and all that. You need not go through, volumes and volumes of books and things like that. There are search engines and very good sites. It makes life much more easier. So having said that, what are the uh, options? You can become a lawyer, you can join a law firm or a senior lawyer, you can practice. Then you can join campus, good colleges, corporates. Every corporate has a very large corporate legal team, because day in and day out you grapple with the government, with regulating agencies, with customers, with clients. So you will be part of the corporate legal team. Then after some years of practice, you can become a member of the judiciary, lower judiciary, or the constitution says high court, you need 10 years practice to become a high court judge. The lower judiciary, it's not very exciting. Nevertheless, that's also an option. You become a magistrate and become a subject. There is also sometimes, there is a talk of the government is planning to bring in an all India judicial service, like IAS. So how they are going to do it? So that is in the cards. Then quasi-judicial work. See, I did law in my case. I started as a lawyer. Then afterwards, I joined the government, where I had to do a lot of quasi-judicial work. Quasi-judicial work means it is judicial work, but not by a court. This would include gratuity, employment compensation, and motor claims tribunals. They're all quasi-judicial. Sales tax tribunals, income tax tribunals. So these are some of the areas. And law, increasingly, they have a larger role in business, in strategy, in mergers and acquisitions, okay, in rights issues, so governance. And apart from that, you can go arbitration. They call it alternate dispute resolution. The government, the courts, something, Indian judiciary system is one of the slowest. It takes years and years for a case to settle, to be final decision to be out. So they say justice delayed is justice denied. Justice delayed is
Justice denied.
denied. So by the time the person dies, takes years and years for a case to be decided. Okay, I'll give you a small example. My wife's grandfather was himself a chief justice. He died leaving a will in the 50s. And there was some dispute in the family. The will was challenged. It went on and on. It got decided only in 2016, about 35 years. The will was held to be valid. By the time my mother-in-law passed, she couldn't get into the property where she was born. So this is the Indian legal system. So we generally tell people don't get into a legal tangle, because our process is painfully slow. And that is a systemic problem, but then you can go into, so arbitration is recommended, where you don't go before a court. You have professional arbitrators who try to sort out things for you. Then you can go for legal research. You do your PhD on certain and do research. Legal research is a very good field to be in. You can even go abroad. There's a lot of international bodies, the UNO, the International Court of Justice, allied there, where you have huge opportunity. You can maybe do a master's and a doctorate. And you can join an NGO, fight for rights for the underprivileged, gender rights, child rights, okay, consumer rights, environmental. So these are options. And finally, you will be surprised, law graduates are being hired by the armed forces also. Because any offenses committed in the Air Force, Army, Navy, they have their own Army Act, Air Force Act. It's called, they call it court-martial proceedings. Okay, it is not applicable to common people. It is only for the service personnel, and the judges are the serving officers. And there are a lot of positions for legal in the rank, commissioned officers with law graduates to assess these army tribunals. And there are also armed forces tribunals where aggrieved army personnel can go. There are many benches. So these are some of the career options. Career options is growing by the day. There are so many career options. So these are some of the thoughts which I thought I'll leave with you. Anything else?
Sir, is there any difference between a lawyer and an advocate?
Lawyer, basically you are an advocate. Lawyer is a generic term, that's all.
Oh, so both are the same thing, sir?
In the US, they call them attorneys.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, sir.
Did we cover enough? I mean, whatever is relevant, I don't know, really. Because
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think they would have got an idea about, how many different ways, they can pursue law and specialize in whatever they would like to do. So whatever interests them, I think they can specialize in.
I know, and even if they don't want to, even if they don't want to pursue law, it is very important that they know law.
Law, correct.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, in Kerala, they had an incident like he was a government worker, I think so. He killed his wife for a dowry purpose, sir. So he is definitely punishable in the court, sir.
Correct. You have asked a very good question. The whole problem in the country is the crime has been committed. Okay, you are right. What is a crime? The man is being punished for a crime against society, right? Crime against society. Now, who's investigating that crime?
The police.
The police. The police have to be smart. They have to be professional, and it is their business to ensure that they are able to see. In Indian law, you must understand one thing: every man is innocent till he is proved guilty. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Till the court pronounces that he is guilty, he is presumed to be innocent. Only in French law, they say he is guilty till he is proved innocent. Okay. So if the police, the average policeman has very limited brains. Our police are not professional. One. And there is also corruption. End of the day, if the policeman, the investigating officer does not do the work properly, the case won't stand in the court. Eyewitness will turn hostile. They say what they say earlier, they will go back. They will say, I have not seen. So the man goes scot-free. So punishing a man is not in our hand. It is in the hands of the police, who have to do the work properly, diligently, and conduct the case properly before the trial magistrate. So as per the textbook, what you say is right. He must be punished. But that is law.
So, but even though the proof and all the evidence goes for the victim, still the victim doesn't get justice.
I don't say that. Victim will get justice provided the case is conducted properly. That's what I'm trying to say. If there are loopholes in the way the investigating officer conducts the case ends in acquittal. The court says no. Sometimes they let them free and see, I am leaving them free because the police has failed to bring in evidence and establish the case. That's what I
Sir, sir, but then if they do like that, sir, the people who wanted justice, they won't get what they want, sir.
Correct.
So it won't be fair.
It is not fair. Life is always not fair. So success is also how you tackle when you come across situations when life is not fair to you. Is life always fair?
No,
When you're children, you feel that life is always fair. As you grow older, you think life is not fair.
Yeah.
But that doesn't that should not put you down. You should move on with life, fight and move. Correct?
Yes, sir.
You should not be. So that should also make you resolve more steely. You must say, I should not be unfair. I should be fair.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir, also, if I want to have a case with someone abroad, sir, then which court do we go to, sir? The Supreme Court?
No, depends on which kind of case. See, there are numerous cases. See, suppose it is a case related to business. Suppose you are exporting some goods. The buyer there in the foreign country doesn't pay you. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Then they, in the agreement, they will have certain clause like in case of a dispute, where do you go? You'll go to the International Court of Arbitration. But in some countries, you will never get the money back. If you do business in China, they don't have a proper legal system.
Okay, sir.
Okay. In some countries where we have specifically some treaty, Commonwealth countries and all that, a decision passed here may be enforceable there, or a decision vice versa. So it depends on the case.
Okay, sir.
And
Thank you, sir.
in case of some person committing a crime here and lives abroad, we must specifically have some extradition treaty with that government to government. Then that person can be sent back to India for trial. So it depends. Your question is a very generalized question. It depends on what branch of law and which country. Because there are many countries in the world, there are no rule of law like ours.
Okay, sir.
So, are there any sections in the IPC which protect victims of sexual harassment or dowry? Because if, like, the victim puts a case against the assaultant, they take revenge on the victim, sir. So, is there any section which, like, protects them from these kind of?
Yeah, there is a protection is there in the Act. But we don't have a very strong system like witness protection. In US, when people depose for sensitive cases, their names are protected. They change their names. They send them to a new location. They give them new identity. That is not there in India.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. If someone has been punished for the mistake that he didn't do, and he doesn't have a proper family but has a child, and he is in the jail now, where will the child go, sir?
Child has to go to the nearest family members, because there is no state protection in India.
Okay, sir.
In many countries, I bet in many of our families in India, see in Sweden and many other countries, the children are monitored. The state has a right because they are all welfare states. So even suppose the department concerned, child welfare department, feels that the child is not taken care by the parents, they can immediately pull out the child from the home and put them under state care. There is a famous case of an Indian couple who are fighting with the authorities for that.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir. After we finish our law degree, sir, should we directly join the private firm or go for the government?
Come again, please.
Sir, after we finish our law degree, sir, should we join the private firm or go for the government firms?
Depends on what you want. See, after a law degree, you can do civil service if you want to. You can join a law firm. Okay. Joining the government may not be an immediate possibility because you need 1 or 2, 3 years experience minimum. Okay. Then you can do your simultaneously, you can do your ACS, company secretaryship. You can go become a company secretary, and legal and secretarial is a very powerful department in corporates. So other than plain LLB, you can also do an ACS, which is a good combination. Then you can go on to do your masters in law, either in India or abroad. There are many specialized courses like Oxford gives. A friend of mine went and did ML in arbitration. And you can do an internship there, join one of the UN. There are many UN bodies. You can join initially as an intern and move up. ILO is there. You have to choose very carefully. And more importantly, you choose something which you like. That makes your profession much livelier.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I have a doubt, sir.
Mm.
Sir, what is the similarity and the differences between our law and other countries' law, sir?
See, any democratic country or any civilized country other than your theocratic states like Pakistan, Iran, Iraq, I'm not comparing. Any democratic countries, the fundamental laws are all the same. It is all based on equity, justice, and good conscience, as they say, and democratic principles. Correct? So, but where the difference is the procedure. Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. They can hear you.
The procedure is much swift and the justice is speedy there. In US, for example, United States of America has 50 states, but they don't have a uniform criminal law. Are you aware of that?
Yes, sir.
Each state has its own law. Some states don't have capital punishment. No electric chair, gas chamber. So even a serial killer gets away with only long sentences, 300 years, 400 years. Okay. Another thing is, your one main thing, there is no jury system in India. You would have seen movies, no? Hollywood movies, some George Clooney movie or whatever. There is a jury system. Jury system was abolished in India long back. Does it answer my question?
Yes, yes, sir.
Because see, the law, when you say law, democratic countries have a different legal system, whereas other countries, China, there is no, they have their own law. It's arbitrary. Correct? You don't get reasonable opportunity to be heard.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
So with your permission, can we have a quick photograph with all the children?
How do you do that? I don't know. I'll have to just stay
We
put.
will just ask them to, come on video, mute themselves, and then just have a quick click.
Okay.
Okay, children, can you all come up on the video, please? Can still be on mute.
I have to mute, is it?
No, sir. I mean, I'm asking the children to do that. Yeah.
டாக்டர் இருக்காங்க அங்க.
Morning, sir.
மார்னிங் டாக்டர்.
From morning, sir. From the morning, I am there.
Oh, okay, I didn't see you. Anyway, it was a very tough session because to take this subject to children is otherwise it will become a drab.
But I think they were very inquisitive right from Constituent Assembly. I mean, I think history of law, I mean, how law evolved also, I think it was interesting to hear all that and their questions also. Some very, very basic, but still I think you were very, you took them in the right way and explained even the slightest of doubts.
No, they are
Like
very.
some even had a doubt the three arms of the government, the legislative, executive. So from there you took them. So I'm really glad that you really went down to their level and gave them an overview of all the things in law. And thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I was just thinking that if it was an in-person session, it would have been even better because that way it's more lively and I think hopefully after the pandemic settles down, I think we can have a in-live session and then in-person session, and that will be very nice. Because though they learn a lot of things in civics, I think putting them into perspective is very important, and I think only a professional like you can do that to the children. So thanks a lot for spending your Saturday morning.
No issue. There is one thing I want to add. Somebody asked about who makes the law. I told the legislature makes the law. I'm only recalling one famous quotation by Justice Krishna here. You write down this quotation. I would like you. It was a part of a judgment in Gujarat Steel Tubes case. What he says is, when a law is put to test, it is about the legislative intent. Why the parliament or assembly has brought in the law? It is the voice of the people. They say, okay. So what he says is, dexterity of diction does not overrule the articulated conscience of the statutes.
Dexterity of diction does not
overrule the articulated conscience of the statutes.
Conscience of the
statutes. Statutes mean law. So what he is saying is, all your verbal jugglery and all that, notwithstanding that, the statute has a soul. Suppose the POSCO law is passed. Why is it passed? To protect children.
Yes.
And this is a new crime. It's a new form of manifestation of the underbelly of the society. And the legislature and the courts have directed the government to pass a legislation. So there is a conscience for the statute. Though it is an inanimate thing, it still it protects the children. So any amount to trying to sidestep or circumvent by some verbal gymnastics is not on. That's what he tries to say. Of course,
that's very important.
Of course, this was a very controversial case. I'm just sharing with you. It's a Gujarat Steel Tubes case. He was a communist, basically.
Okay.
Krishna here. So in this case, it was a controversial case. It was a case where a strike was illegal. It is a declared strike. The union went on strike. It was an illegal strike, but he justifies it in that judgment.
Okay.
He says that it may be an illegal strike, but it
why
is
they went on?
The union has the right for collective bargaining. But nevertheless, this sentence which he uttered makes a lot of sense. I always very much I carried.
True, sir. Everything it has a meaning. It has a context. and it should be applied in the right way. Then it helps me a lot of people.
I think we have. Did we overshoot the time limit? I don't know.
That's. I think it's fine, sir. 10 to 12 usually we do it. So.
Okay.
I think
I tried to narrow it as much as possible, because otherwise the subject we can go, it just go off track and the children will lose interest. That's what I thought.
I think they all had a good time. I think a lot of doubts and queries. I think so. I think that makes the discussion more active and participative. So I think I'm glad it went on well, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And hope to see you in school sometime, sir.
Sure. Anytime. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.
Bye.
Thank you for your very informative session, sir.
There you go. Thanks.
Thank you, parents. Thank you, students. Thank you for this active participation on a Saturday morning. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is very
Bye.
interesting.
I'll sign off.
This informative session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.